Batman The Long Halloween is easily the best comic I've read so far. I've already reviewed Batman Year One and The Batman Who Laughs, but this one was just something else. I knew I was getting into something great because on the cover here, it says, "The Long Halloween is more than a comic book. It's an epic tragedy," and that quote is from Christopher Nolan, obviously the director of the greatest trilogy of all time, in my opinion, the Dark Knight trilogy, and plenty of masterpieces. He's one of the greatest directors ever. I knew I was getting into something great here, and I need to talk about this one, but I'm gonna give a major spoiler warning because I have a lot to say about this one. Also, as soon as I finished it last night, I went on to watch part 1 of the movie adaptation that's coming out like this year. Part 1 already came out, the part 2 is coming out like the 27th or something of this month, and I'll review that tomorrow, don't worry, and then I'll review the part 2 as soon as I see it, whatever. But the comic book, oh my god, the reason it's not sitting behind me here is just because it falls over. If you watch my Year One review, you know that happens, but this thing is one of the greatest things I've ever read. And again, I'm not a reader. I don't really read stuff, but now, because Batman is my favorite character of all time, I'm like, I need to read the comic books, and I had heard that this one is one of, if not the best. I typically see these next few being called the best ones. This one, The Long Halloween, The Dark Knight Returns, and The Killing Joke, which, again, I own those two. Those are the two maybe next ones. I also kind of want to read Court of Owls before I get into The Dark Knight Returns, because I know it's like after his retirement. But anyway, talking about this one, I read it all almost in one day because I started reading it last Tuesday just because we were away at a cottage. Obviously, you saw if you watched my last Batman comic review, I was in a different place. It's kind of nice to sit down at my desk here. But then he does start beating up the Grim Knight. Somebody's having fun. And I almost read the entire thing one day just sitting on the beach because I was so entertained and so like entranced in the story. I was so engaged in what was happening, and I really wanted to know because I didn't know anything going into this one except that it was obviously longer here. I mean, this is much thicker than Batman Year One, and it was $40. So I think that it definitely had some more to it. And this is an insanely packed story, and yes, as Christopher Nolan said, it really is an epic tragedy. And I feel like when he's talking about that, he's obviously talking about Harvey Dent, and I think I'll just go into it right away. What they do with Harvey Dent here is wonderful. Obviously, The Dark Knight's one of my favorite movies of all time. All three of the movies from the Dark Knight trilogy are, but I really love what they do with Harvey Dent there. I really think Aaron Eckhart's performance is phenomenal, and I love his transformation there. But also here, it is really well done because we slowly see him. Like, it's kind of a slow burn in a way. It's more slow in the movie, and I'll talk about that tomorrow. But we kind of have suspicion around this character. Even Batman does. Even Jim Gordon does, who again, I love what they do with all the characters here. Everybody kind of had suspicion here, even us as the reader do. And then when they're in court one day and then the person throws the acid on his face and you're like, yep, he's finally becoming Two-Face, and then we finally get the reveal that he is Two-Face here. I was just like, that is wonderful, because it takes almost the entire comic book to do it, the entire graphic novel, basically, and I think there's maybe 13 chapters here, if I remember correctly. I'll just check. Yep, there is 13 chapters here. I also love how that is like the last thing. I love that cover, and then obviously the reveal of Holiday I'll get into, but the reveal of Holiday I think is incredible because we learn it's not just one person. It's not just Alberto, who is obviously the nephew of the Roman, or whatever you want to call him, and I think that reveal is also awesome because he's killed off. He's the second or third victim here. I think the third one on fourth maybe. He's killed off on New Year's Day. That's just all that I remember. I think it's in chapter 4, so probably the fourth one. And one thing that I really love that seems almost basic, but I know a lot of people, a lot of writers and everything, they wouldn't put in their story, is that they keep the identity of Holiday a secret, or the identities, because, obviously there's multiple here that we learn, but we don't know as the audience who it actually is. So I think that's what also makes it so engaging, is because we don't know who's killing. It's not like we're seeing both perspectives. We have no idea. And then when I was watching the movie, and because then I went into it and I knew, obviously, because I finished it, who the killer was, they do kind of make it more obvious. And again, I'll review that tomorrow. I know I've said it like 3 times here, but one of my favorite things is that right as like the kills are at the end of every chapter, all the pages are just like black, white, and gray, basically. Like all the color, all the saturation has just been sucked out of it, because this is a very like eccentric comic book in a way, with the illustrations, especially with the character design of Joker. I mean, he looks great here, but he looks more than human. Like, he looks definitely like a homicidal maniac, as that's one of the big things from this. And, you know, like his teeth, his smile almost like looks like a piano, like in a way, like the keys of a piano that are kind of broken and shattered in a way. I really love it, and it kind of shows how crazy this guy is. And I also really love Catwoman's suit here. They change it in the movie, and that's kind of one of my like nitpicks with the movie. Not really anything, again, fourth time, I'll talk about it tomorrow, but I love how she actually like has a design of a cat, especially with like her headpiece, whatever you want to call it, cowl. I don't know if that's what it's referred to for her, but it kind of has the shape of that. And I also love the purple here. In the movie they turned it into like the sleek gray black kind of thing, but I love how it's kind of purple here. I think it actually looks better. I think that's probably my favorite Catwoman costume. And what they do with Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne I also really love. I love the relationship and like their little fights here. I think it's pretty cool. And I just love how there are so many stories here. We have obviously Bruce Wayne basically being Batman, dealing with everything, but let's just say like him and Alfred. Then we have Jim and Barbara and then their kids, and then we have Gilda and Harvey, and it's like it never feels too convoluted. We have all these different stories and even more, and they all just go together perfectly. Obviously it's not like they're all at different places, like they all know each other, they all see each other and all that, but we see a little bit at home. We see a more at home in the movie, which I actually think was really good in the movie between Harvey and Gilda, because in here we're kind of hinted that they have some stuff going on, but like not too much. And I want to say the biggest shock of this book, like I did not expect this going in, is when the house of the Dents just blows up. I was like, what? Like, is this how he becomes Two-Face, or like what is this? I had no idea. But something I really love about the book is that they keep it a secret that he's still alive. Like in the movie, again, kind of slight spoilers for the movie, but I did say spoiler warning for this book especially, but they show instantly that he's alive. They show that he's in the hospital and all this, but in here we don't really know. Like, we have an idea, we're kind of hoping that he's alive, but in this it's kind of kept a secret, and I like the suspicion, I like the mystery of this. Obviously Batman has to kind of come to terms with being a great detective. Like, he can't just be someone who goes and beats up all these criminals. He actually has to be a detective, and that's what I really love here, because this is like a younger Batman. I don't know how young exactly. I know it's like a few years after year one, and he's not like an old Batman, but I know he's kind of on the younger side. Obviously he already knows these villains, because almost all the villains are here. Like, we have Poison Ivy, who the design of Poison Ivy is phenomenal here. We have Scarecrow, also like kind of to do with the Joker. The Scarecrow design is like very different and very like cartoony, but I like it. Like, it's very exaggerated, but in a good way. I think we have Penguin, obviously we have Two-Face, we have the Riddler come up in a lot of scenes, which really helps, and then we kind of have Holiday the Killer, obviously Alberto, Harvey, and also, I think I got this right, Gilda is partially the killer, at least in like the Holiday Killer, because in the last like 2 pages or 3 pages of here, we get a little reveal that maybe I'm not sure I understand fully, but I think it was really good to show that like she was part of it, but then it was mainly Harvey and Alberto. And I also love what they do with Alberto, how he's kind of like he's pushed to the side. He's like that member of the family that isn't like taken seriously, so we see what he does, and he goes and starts killing off all the members, and then when he fakes his own death, he's like the only body they don't find, which I think is amazing here. I think it's really well done, and I absolutely love this. Like, just looking at the cover, I know I like just technically finished it last night. I read most of it, and the reason why I took such a long break in between reading is just because I was up at this cottage with my friend too. Like, he had just come up the day, like later in the day when I started reading this, so that's just why. But I just like, I definitely can see myself reading this over and over again. I don't know how much, but I definitely know I will. And The Long Halloween is easily the best comic book I've read, and I'll be surprised if anything can top it. It's wonderful. I love how we have all these stories and you're engaged in all of them, whether that's the Gordons, the Dents, Bruce Wayne, everything. Even what they do with like Selina Kyle, Catwoman, all the villains. Joker has some amazing scenes here. They all do. It really is an epic tragedy, and I'm going to give the comic book for Batman The Long Halloween a 5 out of 5. Yeah, it's so good. Like, just thinking about it, I do kind of want to read it again. I'm not going to right away because I have a bunch more that I want to talk to. I've kind of decided, I think at least, that like Monday I'm going to try to review something to do with Batman, just because I love Batman and I kind of want to make more superhero content. Obviously, I typically review the MCU every like week when they have an episode or like a new movie come out, but I kind of want to talk about DC, more specifically Batman, just to really show how much I love it. So obviously today is Monday, you'll get this, and then I'll review review part 1 of the movie adaptation tomorrow. I liked it. There's like a thing. I didn't love it. I don't think it's anything great, but I'd say it's a solid adaptation. And have you read The Long Halloween? And maybe I spoiled it already for you. If you haven't, please tell me what you think of it down below. Is it your favorite Batman comic, or which ones are better? And thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.